Welcome, everyone, and we are here for discussing a very interesting subject at skill level, which is UK taxation. Now, this series of videos is going to focus on multiple areas in UK taxation and the UK tax paper at skill level. There's a separate playlist or this thing for advanced taxation. This set of videos is dedicated solely for UK tax. Now, your UK tax paper at the skill level, a lot of people claim that as an exemption after ACCA started giving 5 paper exemptions. Tax was, one paper at skill level for which they have started giving out exemptions to all the BCom candidates. Not that, see, UK tax as a discipline, as a subject, might not necessarily apply in India in the same way as Indian tax will apply, but you have to understand that principles of taxation remain the same. Also, on a certain level, the what we are going to do with UK taxes, we are going to understand, of course, what the laws are, but how to read the laws, how to understand every individual sentence and every individual clause, and what implication does that have on the calculation part. So, coming together of all of these concepts is super critical. So, it will not just help you in understanding UK tax, but it will train your mind that tomorrow you are working in any other kind of tax regime, you will at least know what kind of information should you be trained to check, what kind of information should you be willing to decipher from the data that is given to you. But let's first of all look at the pattern for the UK tax paper, which is, see, like every other skill level paper, the UK tax paper has three subparts. There is subpart A, sorry, section A, which is there are 15 multiple choice questions of 2 marks each. Then there is section B. There are three short case studies, each one followed by 5 multiple choice questions. So 3 into 5, 15. Each question is worth 2 marks. So section B again is for 30 marks. And your section C is slightly different as compared to FR, FM, and PM. Here, section C has three questions. There are two questions worth 15 marks each, and then there is one question worth 10 marks. Okay. Now, in section C, which is the constructed response type question, these are basically descriptive questions which will ask you to calculate 3 or 4 different items. For example, they will ask you to calculate the taxable income and the tax liability of an individual. They might ask you to calculate the total employment income and the total property income, and then the next expectation would be to calculate the total income tax liability. Or the question could be on corporate tax, VAT, different areas are possible. So there are two questions worth 15 marks each. One question is always on income tax of individuals. Mostly employment income will form a part of one section C question for sure. Then there is another question on corporate tax, which is there in all the papers, and the 10 mark question can be from any area. On the other hand, when it comes to section B, okay, so when it comes to section B, the questions you will have VAT and inheritance tax for sure, and then it could be from any other syllabus area. But VAT and inheritance tax, I would say they are more or less fixed questions in section B. Sometimes ACCA can spring a surprise. I'm not saying that this is the only way it can work, but sometimes ACCA does spring a surprise. Look at section A. Section A can be from any syllabus area. Okay, so that is basically how your UK tax paper is structured. You are tested, it's a 100 marks exam. To clear, you need a 50, and then there is no negative marking. What is the time taken or the time given to you? Not time taken. The time given is 3 hours, 15 minutes. So you're supposed to finish this paper in 3 hours, 15 minutes. Now, one defining feature or one very important aspect about UK tax syllabus is that, it's a very predefined syllabus. Okay, there cannot be anything that is asked beyond the confines that have been given in the study text. What do I mean by that? What I'm trying to say is, see, in FM, the questions can be of different variety. In double A, the focus is on, how you present your answers. So you need to have a certain frame of mind and the ability to write. In FR, there could be interpretations. PM again is a very different kind of paper. But UK tax is a straightforward paper. Here, the marks that you score are directly dependent on the amount of effort that you have put in. And a very important aspect that you should think of is learning the concepts or learning the provisions. You learn and you get marks. Now, in FM, I always encourage you to ask me the why behind something. And I will go the extra mile to tell you this is why the formula is this way, or this is why you are supposed to do a certain calculation. In UK tax, on the other hand, the why part is not so important. What is important is the what and the how. What do I mean by that? The first question is, what is the provision? How does that play out? What is the provision? It means you have to ask yourself, if this is an individual and he has earned employment income, what is the rule for calculating his employment income, or what is the rule for calculating his income from property? So what is important? You need to learn the provisions by heart, and how do you need to perform the calculations? Now, see, tax laws are made in the parliament, and in India, in UK, wherever it is, they are made in the parliament, and they receive and then they receive the assent of the supreme commander of the country, which is in UK, it is the monarch. In India, it is the president. But the thing is, see, and these laws now, they are made after a lot of thought. And government, when it makes these laws, it has to think about the overall sentiment in the economy, the targets that the government wants to achieve. All of these things have to be factored in at the government level. But when you are writing the paper, see, you don't need to know why the government fixed the rate of tax at 20% and not 22%. Or you don't need to know why exactly is child benefit tax charge calculated this way. You need to know how is child benefit tax charge calculated. You don't need to know why was the rule made in this particular manner. You don't need to get into that specific detail. Your focus should be how the calculation is done, because knowing the why behind it is not going to improve the quality of your answer. The reason I'm highlighting this is we need to learn certain principles and concepts by heart. Okay. And for doing that, it's super critical to know what is the provision and how the rule has to be applied. So focus on memory and learning. I'll be giving you flowcharts and everything for that. Don't worry. Your UK tax syllabus is basically divided into six main parts, and then there is one separate element. The first thing we'll be discussing is UK tax system and its administration. Then we'll talk about income tax and NIC for individuals. Then we'll calculate capital gains, then inheritance tax, then corporate tax and value added tax at the end. The last unit is basically mentioned as employability and technology skills. And this is, how to navigate your computer screens in the exam and all of that. This is not something, which is like tax oriented. This is just a way of dealing with the examination situation. So don't consider G as a separate subpart, but A, B, C, D, E, F, these are six syllabus areas that we'll have to focus on. Now, how do we prepare for this paper? See, you will get Excel sheets from me. You have to ask me for Excel sheets. And if you are watching this video, all you have to do is you have to drop a comment and you have to let me know that you need Excel sheets for this particular topic, and I will be helping you with the same. Apart from that, uh, the technical articles and other things that I will share with you, you have to focus on those. And most importantly, the daily targets in terms of preparation that will come from my end. These are the 3 pointers that you should swear by. After every lecture, please understand how are the notes labeled. Okay. If you see 1.2 as the title, that means it's lecture 1 part 2. This is the name of the subject. Then you talk about the topic that is covered and then the date on which the topic was covered. And how do you work the technical articles? See, technical articles are something that I will share on a weekly basis wherever it is relevant. And you have to focus on that and try to read it first. And then I will be discussing the technical article as well with you. It will add to your understanding and improve the quality of your answers. Now, in your tax exam, you need to know how exactly do your questions appear on screen. You could have a multiple choice question where out of four, you have to pick one correct answer. Okay. Then you could have a drag and drop scenario, which is basically like a modified form of match the pairs. Some items are given on the left, and then there are matching items given on the right. You have to drag it from here and put it in the appropriate box in front of the correct alternative. Then you could have a drop down list type of question. This is a modified form of the multiple choice question wherein you click on the drop down and you will see four options. You have to pick the correct one. You could also have a hot area type question, which is basically in the form of true or false question. So they will mention four statements and you have to pick up the correct one. You have to highlight the correct one and you will get marks for that. Now, in this hot area type question, understand that say they have given you four options and you pick up three correct and one incorrect. You will get marks for the three correct options that you have chosen. But a multiple response question is where there are excuse me, where there are four alternatives given to you and you have to pick up two correct answers. Now, in this type of question, out of four correct answers or out of four options given to you, you have to pick up two. Now, some people ask me, sir, what if I pick up one correct and one incorrect? Will I get marks for the one? The answer is no. You will get full marks only if you pick up two correct options. Otherwise, you are not getting anything. Then you have fill in the blank type questions. These are, where a lot of students lose marks because they need to understand the expectation of the answer, right? So, for example, if they have said round it to the nearest dollar, then if your answer is 1360.8, you should round it off to 1361. If your answer is 1360.2, then it should be 1360. So that rounding off to the nearest dollar, what does it mean? Rounding off to the nearest thousand, what does it mean? So you will have to do it accordingly. So you have to be super careful when you are punching in the answer. And then the last type is the hotspot type question. This is not so common in UK tax paper. It is more common in subjects like performance management. But basically, you will have a starting point, and then you will have to punch in or pick the correct answer for each of these nodes. This is again, see, if your knowledge is intact, if your knowledge is in place, then whatever may be the type of the exam question, you will still be able to answer. See, it is the syntax of asking the question that is changing. The knowledge tested is going to remain the same. Okay, so with that in mind, let's now move to the actual understanding of our UK tax syllabus in the next video.